Ba-bam. On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be answering 3 questions from listeners of the show. 3 SEO questions. The first question is about if it's better to do a new website with a new company name if the company name that you already chose is too common, if it's too common a name. So should you do a new site with a new company name? That's the first question. The second question is how to measure Pogo sticking. Pogo sticking in SEO. That's when a searcher is looking for something. They go to your website. They decide this isn't what I'm looking for. And then they go back to the Google results to keep looking for an answer and keep clicking around. That's Pogo sticking. And the third question is how to judge if a keyword is competitive or not. That's what I got for you on this episode of the show. Let's go to the first question. So this first question is quite long. So rather than just read it all, and thank you, by the way, thank you, Mark Pelson, for the question. Rather than just read the whole question, I'm going to summarize it. So it boils down to this. Mark started a company called Elevate Events. And this is a QR code photo sharing SaaS, a software as a service company. But the name Elevate Events, it's a common name. It's used all over the place by event planners, by DJs, by tons of other businesses. It is a very common name. And so Mark asked, should I change the name of the company to avoid brand confusion and improve visibility? It's not just change the name of the company, because when you change the company name, you also need a new website. You need a new root domain. And my answer is this. Absolutely. A good way to think about this is you say the name of your company in a TikTok or an Instagram reel. Can anybody just Google the company and then your company will be the first thing that comes up? Less common business names will make this the easiest. So you should absolutely change to something less common, especially since it sounds like this is a kind of new business and it's not super established. But even if it was a bit established, here's what you do. So use a different root domain for your website. The root domain is whatever.com or .io or .ai, whatever it is. edwardsturm.com, that is my root domain. .com is really the TLD, the top level domain, but I'm going to just, for simplicity, say edwardsturm.com. If I changed it to just like sturm.com, that would be a different root domain. You would preserve all the paths, everything that comes after the .com. So like if your path is /uses /photo sharing on the old domain, you would want anyone who goes to that path on the old domain to get to that path on the new domain. And the content on the site is pretty much going to be the same, except you're going to change the name of the brand. So what you do is you change it, and then you use what's called a 301 redirect. And a 301 redirect, it tells Google that this is the new home of your website and of your pages. And then it transfers the SEO link juice of your old website to your new website and your old pages to your new pages. And then you want to use 301 redirect rules to exact match any URL path on the old domain to the new domain. Like I said, /uses /photo sharing on the old domain with 301 redirect to /uses /photo sharing on the new domain. And ChatGPT can very easily help with these 301 redirect rules. It's a pretty standard and simple thing to do. I've done it many times, really easy. Thank you again, Mark, for the question. Question 2 comes from @1-2-T, who asked, how do we measure Pogo sticking? Again, this is going to a page in the search results, deciding that this page isn't what you're looking for, and then going back to the search results and clicking on another page, on another result to try to get your answer. That's Pogo sticking. So it takes a good deal of configuring in Google Analytics 4, but you can get a halfway decent solution. It's not perfect, and there's actually a huge flaw in it, but it's a good place to start if you're really looking to measure Pogo sticking. You'll want to filter by session source /medium contains Google /organic. So now you're filtering for only people coming from search. And then look at reports, then engagement, and then landing page. Then look at engagement time for pages. And make sure you're tracking engagement across subdomains if your call to action is making visitors to the page go to a subdomain. So maybe, for example, your goal is to get people to find your site through Google and then click on a button at the top of your page to go to your app. that app maybe is on a subdomain, app.yourdomain.com. That's an example. App.yourdomain.com. App is a subdomain. And you want to make sure, you'll have to do configuring to make sure that these people who are coming to your site from search, they are being tracked across the subdomain. Because the thing is, your goal probably not going to just have them stay on your page. You might want them clicking through to more pages. So you need to make sure that's being tracked properly. And if you're an affiliate who's trying to get them to click to another website, this will be even harder. And even with all of this, it's still not going to show if people are bouncing back and going back to the search results to continue looking. So actually tracking it without some like very custom solutions can be difficult. But I would say this is, as a general rule, it's best to really think about what a searcher is looking for with a keyword. Ask yourself, with my target keyword, what is this searcher looking to get, hoping to get? And then try to give that right away on your page before your visitor even has to scroll. Then use the rest of the page or a post or whatever to go deeper on that topic. You know, a lot of the times you might ask ChatGPT a question. This is a good example. You might ask ChatGPT a question, and then you'll ask a bunch of follow-up questions to ChatGPT about that same question. And that's the same thing. Your direct keyword, the keyword that you're targeting, is your starting point. And then the rest of the things on the page are addressing the follow-up questions or follow-up things that someone else might wonder about. But really, you want to give people what they're looking for before they even have to scroll. Also, I think it's totally fine, especially with bottom of funnel pages, targeting more transactional or use case keywords, use case oriented keywords. I think it's totally fine to give a call to action button and then have visitors click to a new page. I actually think typically that might even be better. It's more real engagement. So someone comes to your page, they're looking for something, maybe they're looking to use an app. And there's this button that says like, use the app right here. You click on it and it goes to app.yourdomain.com. And I think that's totally great. So the last question comes from Mr. Retirement Savings. I said in one of my podcasts that the keyword hard wax beads, I was talking about personal injury law keywords, but I also shared I was looking at this keyword hard wax beads. And I said that it's a more competitive keyword. And Mr. Retirement Savings said, interesting, but Ahrefs shows that these keywords, hard wax beads or wax beads, have a keyword difficulty score of 0. So Ahrefs shows a really low keyword difficulty score. And this is my response to that. So from all the time that I've spent doing SEO, one of the major things I've seen is that pretty much all the SEO tools, they weigh domain authority, or maybe if you use domain rating, they weigh it way too heavily in their keyword difficulty scores. I think just a lot of these tools get keyword difficulty wrong. I don't use the scores that any tool gives me to judge keyword difficulty, unless it's like page optimization scores within a SERP. And actually, I'm going to talk about that later on in the week when one of the executives from Moz comes on the show. I plan to talk about that then. But the best way to see if a search engine results page is open, if a keyword is open and easy, it's to just judge the competition by searching that keyword and then see how many results are putting the keyword in the page title, the URL slug, the meta description, the H1, and the beginning of the first sentence. Because if you're a searcher and you're looking for a keyword, these are the types of signs that this page is going to satisfy your search intent. If you search a keyword and a page has your keyword in these places, there's a good chance that the page is going to satisfy what you are looking for. Now, specifically for hard wax beads for this keyword, there were a bunch of pages that were decently optimized for hard wax beads. These pages put hard wax beads in many of these fields that I mentioned. Page title, URL slug, meta description, H1, beginning of the first sentence. A lot of these pages put the keyword in those places. So that's why I say that's a more competitive SERP. That's a more competitive keyword. SERP, again, just means search engine results page. Then to go a bit deeper, you can start looking at domain authority for each result, and that's important too. But I want to actually stress this. If I was to generalize, I would say it's more important to see how many results are optimized for the keyword. Think about it this way. If you are a searcher and you are looking for something, you don't care how authoritative the websites that are ranking for are if none of the pages address what you're searching for. It's only after the pages address what you are searching for that you want to actually weigh your options and decide which to choose. But if none of the pages address what you were looking for in the first place, you don't care how authoritative these sources are. You only care how authoritative sources are when there are multiple sources targeting your keyword that are addressing what you are looking for. That's when you want to pick the most authoritative source. That's when domain authority, domain rating, that's when that matters. So those are the 3 questions. Thank you again to everyone for them. If you want to go deeper on SEO, I have a 13.5-hour course at compactkeywords.com. If you want to save years learning how to do SEO that actually gets customers, that gets users, that gets people to call you for discovery calls, you can ask yourself how much a few years of your life is worth. And if it's something that you'd like to expedite, that's what Compact Keywords is. That's compactkeywords.com. And everybody, thank you again so much for watching and for listening and for all of the questions, for the continued questions. I really genuinely enjoy answering them. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.